Good morning, students. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are able to see the screen, students? Can I quickly get a confirmation from you in the chat box if you are able to see the screen? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. So, students, now if you observe in the last class, we were doing the internal analysis. Now, internal analysis means we were specifically focusing on our company Daistruk, specifically focusing on our company Daistruk. And students understand it very clearly, students. Our company is currently the largest 3PL service provider. That means we are providing logistics services plus also warehousing as well. That is only known as 3PL because we are the largest for that. And we do have the resources also to provide that services as well, students, because we have mentioned that very critically also. Now, students, if I am not mistaken, just for your understanding, these are the structures in the industry. Once again, I have to repeat it. Now, if you look at 1PL means the company has their own in-house logistics function. That is only known as 1PL. You need not want people like Daistruk to support you. But if it is 2PL students, you have to understand one thing, that is the logistics functions, which is the transportation is managed by an outsider. And again, understand the verb very clearly, transportation. Transportation means the flow of the goods that is from the manufacturer to the client. And the 3PL, where you have the transportation function plus the warehouse and the storage function as well. That is 3PL. And the 4PL, which is having a new opportunity, which is effectively you have the strategy function as well. That means the company will give suggestions on what to do to the main company who is giving us the contract as well. So students, if you are not mistaken, students, this is our resources. This is very, very important just to keep in mind. This falls into the strength area only, but understand it very, very clearly. These are our resources at the moment. These are our critical resources at the moment. I believe it is very clear for you all, if I'm not mistaken, because one of our major successes already we are digitized enterprise. That means before our clients are asking us for inventory, our systems will check it and effectively we get the notification and we can do it by ourselves as well. And the shared use and the handling. Now we have 35 warehouses across the Roundland. You have to keep these numbers in mind because we are storing this for some of our clients. And also 90 outsourced warehouses. That means we have the responsibility of managing 90 warehouses, which belongs to our clients. 35 warehouses belongs to us. 90 warehouses belong to our clients. And then if you observe the shared usage, if you see, we have 4,500 articulated trucks, 6,500 trailers, 800 tankers, 600 fuel and chemical, and 200 food for milk oil. And these are the composition what we have, and 1,000 smaller vehicles also. And the rail transport, if you clearly see, students, we have 10 railway locomotives. And it's a good thing because one railway can do the work of 80 trucks. Remember that very clearly, students. And we have 2 inland ports in Roundland, that is the sea ports, where we are able to make sure the goods which are coming from overseas are taken care. And also specialized loading, that is wind turbines and other things are also done. Now, students, if you observe data, we have to have a strategy. We don't have a strategy for data. Example, students, we don't have a backup. We don't have a proper data warehouse. Nothing like that mentioned. And students, confidentiality threats are also there because sometimes something wrong goes out. It will be an issue. And the risk in the warehouse. Now, example, theft also not mentioned. And one of the biggest thing is there is nothing mentioned relating to the insurance. Because if the insurance is not there, students, it will be a bigger issue for the organization once again. And then students, carbon emission is also a target of the government. By 2052, we need to have net zero carbon emission. But at the moment, looking at the portfolio we have, it's very tough, very tough, very tough. And the maintenance is a bigger challenge also. And penalties will be high for these segments, that is the specialized part. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, we just went through the risk of our organization, what we are effectively facing. Carbon emission was a major risk, students, if I'm not mistaken. So these are the integrated reporting, voluntary disclosure. These are the areas that the students can be focused with. And health and safety risk, property damage, like insurance for the staff, insurance for the goods. And the delays in the transport of the goods, IT system crashes, so many things are there. An IT system can be down. We don't have a hot backup site, nothing like that given. Recruitment and the retention of the staff, because certain specialized equipments all we need to have a good background check, and specialized skills are also required. And compliance risk is there. New rules can come by the government anytime. Anytime government can come with new rules. So that will also directly affect our business. Now, students, one more thing, if I'm not mistaken, like for the today's session, let's start from the beta factor. Now, this is very, very important. So I'll write down here, students, Daistruk. Daistruk's beta is 1.27. Again, understand it very clearly. Daistruk beta is 1. What, students? 27. 1.27 is the beta of Daistruk. Is the beta of Daistruk, which is 1.27, students. Now, understand it very clearly in general point of view. If the beta means, students, the risk measurement. If the beta is more than 1, I will do that in detail. More than 1, the risk of the portfolio is very high. Risk of the portfolio is high. That means very high risky portfolio. The stocks are very high risky. So the problem with that is cost of capital will become higher. Because whenever you are going for a business proposal, the cost of capital will become higher. And then, students, in case if the beta is less than 1, risk of the portfolio is less. Risk of the portfolio is less. So cost of capital will be effectively less for that point of view. So students, just understand this application as much as possible. So can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are clear with this, students? Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are fine with that? Thank you. Thank you very much, students. Thank you very much. So understand the structures very well where we are in. Now, students, unfortunately, the news stories are not so specific. Only 2 news stories are looking good, but the rest of the news stories are generally relating to the structures. Now, the first one, so I'll just analyze the news stories so that step by step we can go to the industry analysis also. Now, students, if you look at the news stories, so I'll write down here, students, news, what, students, stories. So coming into the news story, students, let's start working step by step. So news stories, if you observe, students, what I can effectively say, I see a lot of trucks carrying shipping containers. How do they transport goods that can't be carried in metal box? Now, students, they are asking how are goods that are being transferred, which cannot be carried in that metal box. So that is a general question, students. Now, shipping containers have standard dimension that makes them easy to stack on the deck of the cargo ships. Being a standardized size, it makes it easy to carry them on the trailer, towed with the articulated trucks, and also railway wagon. Containers of goods can be transported all over the world, getting transferred between ships, trains, and trucks without having to be unloaded until they reach their destination. So students, you would have understood very well, these are the big containers, they say, and it is unloaded. And most containers are metal boxes, which are ideal for carrying huge range of goods ranging from mobile phones to fruits. It is, however, possible to create containers. Now, see, students, it is possible to create containers for other purposes. The specialized purposes, you are allowed to create containers. So that is what they are effectively saying. It is possible to create containers for other purposes. The creation is aware. For example, those containers that open at the top, which makes them ideal for loading and unloading bulk products such as sweet and grain. Containers can also be supplied as tanks for liquid and gas. They also build no frame so that let the stacks of the standard metal containers, and they also fit in the trailers and wagon as the standard container. Now, students here, they are saying there are options. So I'll write down here Article 1. So what is the Article 1 meaning? Very simple. There are options. There are options where the company will have modification to the containers. That is also possible, students. Now the question arises is legal compliances. So I'll write down here, students, legal compliances, because students, when you are creating a container for a specialized need, do you need to have a legal compliances? Definitely, because sometimes when you're going in the road, you would have seen, students, in certain roads, they would have mentioned the height limit. Have you observed that, students, the height limit for these big trucks? This is the height limit. So the meaning of that height limit is that's a legal compliances that needs to be maintained. And then, students, one more thing in this case study that was not mentioned is from whom we acquire containers. Did they mention anything relating to that? From whom we acquire containers? So students, in simple language, is the stakeholders. So suppliers relationship is not mentioned. Correct, no, students, if I'm not mistaken. In case something wrong happened, who takes care, who maintains these things? Was they mentioned? No. So can I get a Y in the chat box, students, if you understood that point of view? Any questions there, you can ask me, but there is no information related to whom is supplying that. Who is supplying that? So I'll just write it down in the weakness point, students. In the weakness point, I'll just write it down for you all. So I'll write down here the container suppliers relationship is not transparent. The reason is, students, you need to have a very strong relationship with these people. Transparent, since they are critical. They are critical for the maintenance and upgrades. So the maintenance and upgrades of the containers. Get that very, very practical, very, very clearly, students. That is technically important and very, very essential as well. So I believe that is fine for the students. Now I'm going to the next article. Again, students, once again, they are again going with this truck components only. So I'm going to write here article number 2. Now that's what I told you, students. This time the articles what they are giving is very rarely to the outside functions. It is mostly towards the product, the container functions only. Why do some trucks have big curtains alongside? Wouldn't metal be a stronger part? So Rocco has asked it, why they have curtains instead of metals. Now, one thing practically, if you observe, students, if you see this diagram also, if you have this curtain, easy to take the goods what you want. The logistic function becomes very much flexible and easy. Because if it is from this side, what happens is, students, you have to unload to take one thing. So that is the good thing here. The time saving is there. Some trucks and some shipping containers are designed to open at the side. In fact, they are called curtain sides. They are called what, students? Curtain sides. The side opening makes it easier to load and unload them for the forklift. As I told you, convenient. So I'll write down here, students. Side opening is for convenience. Side opening of containers is for what, students? Is for convenience. Understand it very, very clearly, students. It's for convenience. It's for convenience. Get that clarity very, very well. It is the basic point of view at the moment. And the curtains are made out of very strong materials. They don't tear. So they are saying curtains are strong material. Curtains are strong material. Don't tear, don't tear, don't tear. Now, a point of view, just a point of view in a business aspect. Now, if you see students in business point of view, if it is don't tear, the issue is can that be recycled, students? Recycle possibility, because students, can you remember sustainability is extremely important now considering the environments in the business factors. Okay, now moving forward, you might also not notice, you have not noticed, but some trucks have curtain tops. The sides are solid, but the roofs are sliding curtain that can be opened and closed. That can be also convenient when loading or loose goods such as coal, which are poured onto the top of the slip open. So opening from the top is also there. So I'll write down here, opening from the top is also there. Top is also there, is also there. So students, this is what they are saying. Now, one problem in our initial internal analysis, they just told about our trucks, everything. But as per my understanding, or as per your understanding, as per a finance manager understanding, the relevance, why do they give this is, there can be a situation of container updates, container upgrades. Can we upgrade our container? Yes or no, students? Container upgrades are possible. Container upgrades are what, students? Possible. Can I get a confirmation from your students? Because at the moment we may be having the traditional containers. So in the examination, there will be a proposal where you need to upgrade your containers also. So container upgrades are also possible, students, are possible. Therefore, a financial analysis can be done. That is cost benefit analysis, financial analysis, and I can also say strategic analysis as well. Generally, I'll just write down SAF model, suitability, acceptability, those things can be done, but don't go for that shortcuts, everything I'll teach you, but just an application only. So I'm going to write it down here so that it will be extremely clear for you in the opportunity point of view. The company can update the containers based on the new structures with side curtains and top opening, side curtains and what, top openings as well. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are clear with this, students? Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are fine with this? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, coming to the next one, students, that is the third one, the reader's article. Again, whenever you are reading this, you have to ask yourself a question. What is the relevance? What is the relevance? If there is no relevance, then you are not reading properly. That is the outcome of that. So we found the relevance. Now let's come to article number 3. Let's analyze the relevance together. Now, question 3. My dad operates a forklift in South City Port, but doesn't have a license to drive the car. Is it breaking the law? Now, understand it very, very well. There is a situation, the person has a forklift license, but not a car license. Is it breaking the law? Technically, no, right? No. The good news is that there is no need to have a car license to operate a forklift. Now, that is practical. No need a car license. Forklift drivers do, however, need to have completed a formal training. So this is completely related with the formal training. I'll come to that. It's related to human resource management. That is important because forklift can be difficult to drive. Loads can make forklift very unstable if the forks are lifted too high. They also block the driver's view from anything or anyone in the road. Now, the practical point of view, the forklift drivers needs to complete a formal training program. What, students? Program. I believe that is practically clear. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? The forklift drivers needs to complete a formal training program. I believe that is practically clear. Now, the formal training program, can that be having internal control issues? Now, students, if you observe, I'll write down here internal control issues, internal control issues. Now, I think everyone is aware, when we say formal training, all this training process may have internal control issues, such as unskilled labor granted the permission, unskilled labor granted the permission to use forklift, granted the permission to use forklift. Students, practical, completely practical. If you are doing CIMA FLP program, they say it's a formal training. Honestly, tell me, students, still internal control issues are there. When you go to that FLP platform, you can do the modules without any complications. Can I get a double by in the chat box if you understood that practical internal control issue, students? I'm telling you the fact. Likewise, they may have something similar that this guy has attended the workshop, so training is done. There are some training based on attendance. Remember that, students, there are some training. You just go and sit and come, you are trained. That also there, be very, very careful with that point. So this is a sensitive factor, frankly speaking, sensitive factor. And I can just write down here, professional due care. Students, there is something called professional due care, because students, if our systems are very poor, and I told you one of the biggest risks that this industry is facing is what, students? The injuries. So I'll write down here, students, in the weakness, I'll write down here, the training processes in Daistruk, the training processes in Daistruk are not transparent, are not what, students? Are not what, students? Transparent. Can I get a confirmation from your student? That's a very big weakness, considering the complexity, students, considering the complexity is very, 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 very high. Now, students, coming into the threat function, let's start to the writing of the threat so that it will become practical, it will become easier also, students. Now, if you come to the threat functions, what I can effectively guide you is a very, very simple and very, very straightforward point of view. So in the threat aspect, what I'm going to write down is a very thing, accidents, and fatality. Students, fatality means people are dying. Okay, fatality caused due to poor internal controls. Example, formal training on, I can say, forklift driving. Now the child is asking a very good question, because father can't even drive a car. How is he able to drive a forklift? That's a very good question, because forklift is generally having the same function like a steering wheel, everything, but it's more complicated. So students, coming to the next one, this is a good one. Now, students, the article number 4 is practically a good article. I have to be very transparent here. So let's start working on that, students. So I'll write down here, Article 4. Now let's see what is that article for, automations. And students, this can be a potential issue in the examination point of view as well. Roundland's first automated container terminal. Daistruk's major logistic company has completed the modernization of both of its internal ports. Now, both the ports have been fully automated by purchase of 40 YB-borne 3000 straddle carriers. So I'll write down here, 40 YB-borne 3000 straddle carriers. So students, I will just go to my strength, if I'm not mistaken. It's a great strength I can write down here, students. So I'll write down here 40, because our company has done it for the first time. So frankly, we can get a lot of revenues also. Ratio analysis, students, when you are doing this, data is important. 3000 straddle carrier. Now, this is a technological based carrier. all of which are fully automated. So are automated. Again, understand it, not partially automated, automated, and within brackets, I'm going to mention what students, fully automated. And then students, softwares and centers enable these carriers to operate without a driver. They can load and unload both trucks and railway wagons, carrying fully loaded shipping containers to the desired location, either transferring them from one vehicle to another or stacking them for the 4 units high for temporary storage. So it can help us to transfer to a container or to a wagon, and also you can store also. The spokesman of Daistruk commented that the modernization meant that the company could carry even more goods by rail instead by road. That's a very good point because rail is less carbon emission. It's a good competitive advantage as well. The automation improves reliability because company is less vulnerable to shortage of skilled crane drivers. So I'll just write down here, students, it can come up with redundancy also, employee downsizing, because students automation, no students, so I'll write down here 40. This is our company. So I'll write down here Daistruk's internal development, internal development, and I'll just mention here 40 YV bond, 3000 straddle carrier, 3000 straddle carrier, YV bond, 3000 what students, straddle carrier, 3000 straddle carrier, 3000 straddle what students, carrier. Now fully automated, and increases the efficiency, because rail transport is the most preferred considering the current nature, since rail transport can increase, reduces the dependency on whom, students, on crane operators, reduces the dependencies on the crane operators. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are clear with this article number 4? If you are clear with this article number 4, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? Thank you very much, students. Thank you very much, students. Now, students, if I am not mistaken, I will come to the next one. This is also the extremely important point because it is relating to the inconvenience we cause to our outside society also. So, article number 5. So, motorway chaos disrupts the holiday travel. 3 trucks carrying oversized load create a massive holdup in M12 motorway, delaying holiday makers who are attempting to catch the flights from Central City Airport, which was located by M12. So initially they are saying bigger oversized trucks have caused the traffic. Now the truck is in question belonging to trucks in question belong to Daistruk. So that is the biggest problem. So I'll write down here Daistruk trucks causing traffic congestion. That is a biggest, I can say, threat as well. Negative publicity can come if I'm not mistaken. The spokesman told the Roundland Dairy that the vehicles had been scheduled to leave at 4 morning, but mechanical problems with one of the vehicle had delayed departure by 2 hours. So I'll write down here mechanical issues in the trucks. Now that is also one factor to be considered. And I'm going to write down here who is responsible. Who is what, students? Responsible. Mechanical issues in the trucks, who is responsible? That is one more point of view for your understanding. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, they are also specifically stating that means the trucks, their escorts were passing the airport during the morning rush hours, holding up traffic in the process. The size of the loads meant that the trucks occupied 2 lanes of the motorway, leaving a single lane for motorists trying to get to the airport and beyond, which caused substantial tailbacks of traffic. The large loads also meant that the trucks were restricted to 40 kilometers per hour, So I'm going to write down here poor compliance with road rules. Poor compliance with road rules because they were obstructing the rules because they were using two line tracks. There are very strict rules concerning the carriage of the oversized loads on public roads. So I'll write down here oversized loads, oversized loads also mentioned. These include the need for driver to be accompanied by attendants in the cabs of their trucks, vehicles to be fitted with maker board and additional lighting and provision of escort vehicle to prevent road users from getting too close to the road. There are also strict rules on maximum size and the weight that can be carried. The Central City Police confirmed that they had been notified of the load. Daistruk complied with all the applicable regulations. No accident has been reported. So followed the regulation. That means they would have paid the fines, everything. Followed the regulations, and no accidents reported. But still, it's a negative sign. So I'll write down here, student. I'll write down here in the weakness. I'll write down here poor maintenance of the trucks. Poor maintenance of the trucks. We need to analyze that very, very well because something wrong happens, like what happened, a delay and affecting the public. That will be an issue. And the threat, if I'm not mistaken, is causing traffic congestions, to the general public. So students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are fine with that, students? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are fine? So students, everything has a relevance. Look at the golden words I'm using. Everything has a relevance, and it's up to you to make sure what is relevant, what is irrelevant for the case study that is making sense at the end of the day. Now students, coming forward, now this is done. So we are very much aware about our internal factors very, very, very well. I will come to the board directors, the stakeholders in the upcoming class, but today let's go through the internal analysis properly. Now, internal analysis is summarized into the modes, the types of the players, and the market share of the transportation network, everything. It's very, very understandable. I have to be very open so that it will be very easy for you to have this analytical skills very, very well. Now, students, if you observe, if you see, students, I will connect the relevance also, and you will be able to do this far better compared with the other places. Now, logistics is a broad term that encompasses the process of managing flow of goods. So flow of goods, students, is a keyword. If you do not mind, you have to take this down, because the reason is, in your examination, this verb, if you use, you have the potential to get a very high level of marks, ensuring they reach their intended destination on time. So students' time, that is very important. So I will effectively write down one very important point here that we call it as punctuality. What is that, students? Punctuality. Punctuality is very much important. Logistic includes planning, implementation, control required to ensure the safe, efficient management of the flow, as well as physical transportation of materials and products. So in other case, accountability is very, very high, because we are the people who are bringing the goods forward from the manufacturer to the retailer. Now, students, this diagram is very clear. From suppliers, inbound logistic. Internal logistic means, students, warehousing. Can you remember, students? We have warehousing. We store the goods and we have our internal warehousing. And then, students, outbound logistic is how the goods goes to the customer. Now, students, one more technical application that I have to connect in this is, students. Now, if you see customer returning goods, I believe you are able to see this red color line. Customer is relating goods, the goods goes back to the supplier. Now, this we call it as reverse logistic. What logistic, students? Reverse logistic. Now, students, when there is defective products, then what happens is the customers will return back the goods. So reverse logistic is also there. This happens, students, whenever there is a defects. whenever there is a defects in the products as well. Or there are situations when a wrong product is submitted. Again, understand it very well. A wrong product is also submitted. So can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you understood the reverse logistics, students? Return inwards, we call it in general accounting. So when the goods are returned inwards, the people who bring the goods to the local situation is only known as the reverse logistic aspect. Now, students, moving more into the detail, let's focus on the following. Inbound logistics focus on procurement of goods, that is receiving and checking goods, which may be in the form of parts, material, or finished products. Storing goods if necessary. Example like food, everything. I'll write down here, students. Food storage is needed properly because it's very essential as well. And updating inventory record, we have the IT system. So I'll just connect it to our business. We have our IT system. So effectively, this is making our business very smooth. The internal logistic involves handling goods within the entity, including inbound and outbound. So managing the goods, maintaining the inventory record, whatever you are doing. So this is the warehousing function. This is the warehousing function. And generally, this is done by organizations like 3PL. Outbound logistic involves processes associated with movements of goods to customer, warehouse picking, packing. So students understand it very well, packing. So I'm going to make sure this note is taken, packing, question mark. Because at the moment, we don't know whether we have a packing function within our organization. So can I write down one thing, students, opportunity. So I'll write down here, students, the company can have a packing function as well. Now, if you buy anything from Amazon, I'm 100% sure Amazon is not doing the packing. Their logistics supplier is doing the packing. Correct, no, students? Yes, I believe so. So that is one opportunity we have. And dispatch is goods taking and the recording also. So the critical success factor we have in our company is IT system. Once again, I'm repeating, students, the critical success we have is the IT systems. I believe that is practically clear as well. Then the outbound logistics also includes reverse logistics. Again, understand it technically and clearly, students. This includes something called what, students? Reverse logistics. Reverse logistics means the goods what you have brought in, it's going backwards. So whereby goods move from customer to the entity, that may be due to the return of defective goods or recycling products or packaging as well. So the goods can go back, that is reverse logistics. Each stage in the flow of goods depend upon maintenance and communication of accurate information. Now, students, this is a very, very important point. The communication of accurate information. Logistics require effective communication and information both within the entity and between the entity and its supplier network. So at the moment, students, we have IT system. So I'll write down here IT system for communication. But as I told you, there can be systems getting systems getting down. The system's not functioning. So during that time, do we have a backups? That is the question mark that arises here. Backup, that's the question mark I'm going to mention here. So that is what matters at the end of the point here. Now, the next one is the scale and the complexity of logistics varies between entities, depending on their size and the nature of the business. Now, for example, manufacturer Melter Motors has a very different needs from retailer Mudak Supermarket. Now, students, in our internal analysis, we were given about Mudaks, right? If I'm not mistaken. I think we are supplying them milk, everything, and also fuel also there. But they did not give anything about the Melter Motors. But I think these two organizations are the largest B2B clients. So I'll write down here, at the moment in the industry, the B2B clients for the 3PL businesses are these two, I think, at the moment. For the moment. So let's just analyze the processes, and it's very easy also, students. It's not so complicated. It's a very easy process to handle also. So Melter Motors is a global manufacturing company that has 52 factories spread across 31. countries. Now, again, students, 52 factories, 31 countries. But at the moment, our management is within Roundland only. Correct now, students? Yes or no? Now, our transportation is within which country, students? Roundland only, not only for other people. So, can I write down one thing? Malta, opportunity. There can be business relationship. There can be business relationship with Malta Motors. Correct, no, students? With Malta Motors. Understand it very clearly with Malta Motors. So can I write down within brackets, they have how many factories, students? 52 factories. And students, they also have something called establishment in how many countries, students? 31 countries also. Can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box, students? If you are able to understand that point of view properly, students, because that is very, very important. We can have a business tab, and the biggest challenge we have is the resource feasibility. So I will write down that within brackets. The question arises is resource feasibility, because at the moment we are very strong internally. That means Roundland. But if we are going to be one of their partners, you can be a 4PL partner also. So this company can ask us to be a 4PL partner as well. Chances are there, students, because it's a huge factory, huge operations that is taking place in the market. Very, very huge, very, very huge. So each factory mass produces a specific products that may be shipped to other factories as required. For example, all Meltam petrol engines are manufactured at factories in Eastland. The factories in Eastland. The engine factory inbound logistics focus on procurement of engine parts and materials. So understand it very, very well. The engine factories inbound logistics focus on procurement of engine parts, the basic engine parts. It can be the nut, bolt, everything. Internal logistics manages the inventory of the part and the material, supplying factory when needed. Outbound logistics stores completed engines, shipping them from the Malta factories to assemble a car also. So this is very, very simple. But the only problem is the establishment in a lot of countries. That is the biggest challenge. Each Malta factory has its own logistic system. Now, 1PL. If they have their own logistic system, it is what, students? 1PL interacting with third party and with other factories in the group as appropriate. When they need, they go for a third party. That is what the idea here. So Malta's logistics are complicated by the need to ship often heavy and expensive components and assemblies between factories. Malta's cars must be shipped to dealers in many countries where Malta cars are sold. So indirectly, they are giving this company may require a party, because at the moment they have their own logistic systems, but in the examination, they can become a partner, just a point of view, or someone else can come also. So can I write down here, students, exam focus? Can you just make a note about this examination focus? Because they are 1PL at the moment. They have their own supply chain management. I believe that is very, very clear for you all. Now, students, Murdoch Supermarket. Now, if you see, Murdoch Supermarket is one of the largest supermarket companies in Roundland. Now, they are not established outside Roundland. They have 1,270 stores, 37 warehouses in the country. Inbound logistic focus on deliveries, food manufacturers to Murdoch's warehouse. Each of them covers geographical region. Perishable goods, milk are delivered directly to the shops by the supply. So here only, students, storage is a critical point. And I think we have a tie-up with these people. Internal logistic manages inventory at warehouses and shops. Murdoch uses lorries to replenish shops with goods of its warehouse. Most sales are direct to the customers who collect their own goods. Some sales are made through Murdoch's website and some are through outbound logistics function that handles delivery to customers' home. So if you see Murdoch's, we have a thing and it is in Roundland. So I'll write down here, it is in Roundland. This is in Roundland. So I believe there is no issues with that. That is very clear and transparent. Now, students, coming to the very, very important point of view, the business spent vast amount of logistics. The total cost incurred on Roundlandian business, that is our local industry students, for each year to 31st December is estimated to be $226.2 billion. So it's $1 billion industry, students, 226.2 billion. That can be broken down into follow. So the important part is transportation. I can say that is the factor service. Without this, this business won't operate. And then the second one is inventory carrying. That means the maintenance of the inventory, the movements of the inventory, because you charge money for that also. And then students, if you observe warehouse storage, the space of the storage, the duration, all those things. And administration means students, this IT functions, all these are administration. But understand it very, very well. The highest is transportation. The highest goes for the transportation only. So coming to the logistics, in-house versus outsourced. So students, I have already explained this, but I'll just go through this. Now, 1PL means own logistics. Like if I'm not mistaken, we had Malta Motors. Now, Malta Motors at the moment is going with the 1PL model. And the 2PL model means only the transportation function. Only transport, students, only transport. And then students, the third one, if I'm not mistaken, it's transport plus the warehousing. And the fourth party is the strategy. They give the ideas also. And most large businesses use some variation of 3PL arrangement, which potentially offers number of advantages. Now, 3PL means if you observe Daistruk, our company is effectively what, students? 3PL. So 3PL providers offers expertise that improve the reliability of logistics while reducing the cost. 3PL providers may use their own warehouses and the vehicles, in which case clients need not invest on property, plant, and equipment. So that is one also we are doing that. And 3PL offers flexibility in events on changing need. Clients may be able to add or release capacity in response to changing demand. We have that IT system which is helping us to manage the request of the clients as well. And then students, 3PL can resolve problems affecting the flow of goods without the needs to distract management team. 3PL can take responsibility of legal requirements such as licenses and the safety. Now here only ethics come, because bribery can come in this area. Because students, we don't know at the moment. There may be a need for a bribery in order to make your operation smooth, as we already discussed. Those advantages may not always be realized in practice. For example, there can be seasonalized variation in demands for storage space. For 3PL providers may not always be able to offer flexibility at busy time. So at busy time, peak season, it will be very, very high for them to give that. So the IT system plays a critical role there. So understand it very, very well. They are explaining about our industry now, where we are in. So coming to the next one, students, if you see the shared versus dedicated 3PL, shared versus dedicated 3PL. Some clients negotiate exclusive arrangement for the use of 3PL resources. That means exclusive means only for them. Only for them. These dedicated arrangement grants exclusive use of specific asset belonging to 3PL provider. That could mean number of vehicles painted in the client's colors and used for the client business. Warehouse could be set aside for clients exclusive. Now, students, this is an opportunity. I'll write down here. We have not have exclusive arrangement. So I'll write down here at the moment it is shared arrangement. So I'll write down here for Daistruk. For Daistruk, there can be for Daistruk, there can be exclusive tie-ups as well. Exclusive tie-ups as well. In case if there is spare capacity. Students, frankly speaking, we do have so many fleet of vehicles. So it's also better to increase our revenue by focusing on these factors also. So shared arrangement do not guarantee the exclusive use of asset. You do not have the full ownership of any assets. The 3PL provider is free for example, use a vehicle that carries several parts of loads for different clients on one trip. No, or to carry a load for one client on the outward journey between two locations and another load for different client in the return journey. So this is what we are doing at the moment. A warehouse could also have areas set aside for different clients within the same building. So I'll write down here, Daistruk is at this moment. We are not having any exclusivity. We are managing out someone. Now here comes again a point of view. They are saying dedicated arrangement may be cost effective than shared for the companies that have high volumes of goods to transport in accordance with regular schedule so that vehicles can be kept in full. They may also be beneficial for clients who have specialized needs such as goods required on specialized storage and transportation. So in other words, they are saying dedicated arrangement can come into your examination. So just think about that for the moment. The next one is storage, students. Now, if you see storage, logistic management usually requires warehousing or other form of storage to permit goods to be stored safely and require next stage of their journey. The number, the size, the location of storage facilities must be decided. The storage sites must be large enough to provide sufficient capacity. They must also be accessible to whatever mode of transport will make deliveries or collection, whether that is be a road, railway, or sea, or an air. Location can also affect transportation costs due to distances between the nodes also. So that is also one more thing. The location is very, very important for the storage. Now, storage facilities must be configured with equipped to handle goods that will flow through them. For example, goods are carried on wooden pallets. So I will just share you the picture, or you can also see wooden pallet, students. It's like boxes where they put the items so that it won't break. So they can be lifted by the fork trucks. That usually requires warehouses to have loading docks that enable forklifts to drive the cargo trailers when loading and unloading. The main storage space in the warehouse will then have to permit free and safe movement of forklifts, so pallets can be placed in storage or picked for dispatch as well. So in this, if you observe, different types of racks can be installed to make the best use of available space, taking account of the weight of typical pallet. This instance, pallet electronic goods will be generally lighter than high. So these are the operational management factors they are effectively saying on what could have been done. But one thing, students, this is an opportunity, which is very, very important. I'll just highlight this point because the warehouse can be automated. At the moment, we have only automated our, if I'm not mistaken, the port only for the crane functions. But here there is also some point of view on how the automation can take place. Warehouse automations, reducing the needs for staff for using conveyor belts and move goods. It's also possible to use robots. So students, robots. So I'll write down here, students, to just make it say, robots used in the warehouse, robots used in the warehouse for the storage function, Students, that is very, very, very important point. Again, there will be change management issues, resistance for change, so many things can come. This automation is frequently associated with fulfilling online sales. Dispatches might comprise of single unit or small number or different products, from large warehouse that stores many different products. Many products require specialized facilities for handling storage. For example, liquids require tankers and storage tankers. Grain and other crops require their own equipment for collection and storage. Different types of goods can also raise safety concerns. So I will circle this. Insurance was an issue on the flammability, toxic material handled with care, and also hygiene issues and goods that can be intended for human consumption, food products and ingredients. So one of the threats I can generally say in storage, students, there can be damages, explosions. Can there be explosions, students? Yes or no? High level. There can be explosions in the warehouse for certain commodities, like fuel, certain commodities like what, students? Like fuel. So students, I believe this is giving you a very, very clear application. I believe that is fine also. So coming into the transportation. Now, if you generally see the modes of transportation is very important, and the dominating mode is rail, road. Road is the dominating mode, and then the sea, and then only comes the rail, and then the air. Air is very, very expensive, students. Now, if you see sea and air, generally for international, correct, no, students? Generally, for international, we need to have sea and air. These are the two options. But if you see road and rail, now students, rail you can improve. There is a point of view of improving rail because rail is less cost, less traffic, less carbon emission, everything. So we will have to figure it out whether there needs to be an improvement from that. So road transport takes variety in different forms. Now here comes the types of road transport, if I am not mistaken, students. Now, if you see, these are the road transport. One is cars and the vans. Cars and vans can be efficient means of carrying small load, particularly when marketing multiple deliveries at last mile for online retailers. So here I'll write down online retailers. Now, students, at the moment, we do not have any information relating to online retailers logistic function. So I will write down here, students, there can be business relationship with online retailers, business relationship with home students, online retailers as well. That is a good point. Drivers do not need to have special licenses, so recruitment and retentions are simplified for employer. Some larger vans can accommodate a pallet and can be used for loaded and unloaded by forklift. So students, the fitness for need is small businesses only. Now coming for the rigid trucks, and you are seeing these are the trucks and these are articulated trucks, the huge one, the container lorry we call it. Now these are rigid trucks. Rigid trucks consist of a chassis with a cab for the driver and the load compartment. Manufacturers usually supply this vehicle without load compartment. Third-party suppliers can add loads space that best meet the buyer's need. For example, the load compartment could have flexible curtain sides open to make it easier and unload the forklift. So this we had a discussion also. Rigid trucks are available on variety of sizes. Roland law requires the trucks up to 7.5 million tons to be driven by the holder with a standard license. Larger truck requires heavy good license, and 18-ton trucks are popular because they are suited for carrying pallets. So I will just write down here the threats on the Norlandia. So 7.5 tons for standard license, tons for standard license. Now, there can be an issue later coming into this. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, I can also say 18 tons popular, 18 tons popular, 18 tons is popular. And therefore, I can say heavy good license is required. Heavy good license is required. Heavy good license is required. So students, can I get a double Y in the chat box if you are fine with that, students? Any questions there, you can ask me. But if you are fine with that, just make sure this heavy good license, students. This is a very, very important point. There are situations this can end up with a legal issue, students. Understand it very well. Legal issues can come in this point. A person with a normal license going with heavy good license, internal controls can come. Articulated trucks, this is one of our main supply, if I'm not mistaken, for your understanding. Now, articulated trucks consist of a tractor unit and a trailer. So students, this is the tractor unit and this is the trailer, just for your understanding. It's a combination of both. The tractor unit has a driver's cab, engine, and the fuel tank, and the trailer carries the load. The tractors and the trailers are designed to be interchangeable to the extent that the trailers can be left at destination for loading and the tractor can be hitched from another trailer to the return journey. The trailers come in variety of different configuration, allowing buyers to specify the matters in which they will be loaded and unloaded, as well as the ability to specify trailers that are suited for different types of cargo. Drivers must have heavy good licenses. Again, understand it very, very clearly, students. Heavy good licenses before they can drive an articulated truck, even if it is a tractor unit without a trailer. Some tractor unit comes equipped with sleeping compartment, which enables driver to park overnight and sleep as well. This is the overall idea of an articulated truck. Again, I'm repeating, students, this is the overall idea of an articulated track. Now, coming to the railway. Now, I have to put a star for railway because the railway composition is very less, as we saw, because majority is dominated by the roads. But we have an opportunity to slowly make sure, give some importance to this railway as well. Now, students, if you see, rail transport offers advantages over road. Rail transport generally are more sustainable than the road, lower carbon emission. Using rail reduces congestion in the road. It is estimated that each railroad goods replaces 75 articulated truck loads. Rail can be more reliable in terms of online delivery, on-time delivery, beneficial for scheduling the goods and immediate use. Rail transportation is much cheaper, particularly for carriage materials in bulk. Rail can be used to carry range of products. Wagons comes in variety of different configuration. Open wagons for raw materials such as iron, or tankers for liquids. Wagons adapted for special loads such as cars and the vans as well. The usefulness of rail depends largely on the location of facilities that are convenient for loading and unloading either the end of the load's journey. Roadlands have extensive network of railway line that use for passengers and freights. All the country's seaports have rail connections to their freight docks. So it is possible to offload ships directly onto the train. The railway lines are used by several rail operators, enabling logistic companies offer both rail freights and transportation of goods. So in this case, students, you have to understand the good things about the railway, the positive things, and we can capitalize that as well. Now coming to the sea, the good thing is, students, we have now automated cranes also to ensure that these functions are faster and smoother. See, it may be necessary to use sea freight simply because there are no alternatives when goods are to be transported to from distant location. For example, Roundland imports large amounts of grain from Northland. So this is one of their larger imports, grain from the Western Ocean. The grains are transported to ports in Roundland on bulk carrier. The grains is then transported by roads or rail to factories where it is used to make breads and other products. Bulk carriers have open holes that can carry large quantities of goods such as grain, ore, and coal. Each type of loads requires specialized equipment to allow it loaded, unloaded quickly and efficiently. Bulk goods are often loaded into open-top railway wagons and dockside. Now, liquids are oil carried on the tanker ships. Liquids are pumped into the tanker storage on the dockside. These liquids can be pumped to the smaller ship into the trucks, railway locomotives, and onward transportation also. Container ships carry goods in air shipping containers, which allow rapid loading and unloading. Many ports have container terminals, cranes to lift it, and containers can be stacked all the time. So in this, students, I'll write down here our company, Daistruk. So I'll write down here, Daistruk has their own point of view. And shipping containers can also be brought to ports on railway wagons and trucks, making them flexible means of transporting goods for export. Articulated trucks can be carried on car ferries, which can allow flexibility in making sea crossings that are served by ferry routes. There are 6 major ferry ports in Roundland's southeast coast, and all are used by trucks to carry between Roundland and foreign destination. Roundland is the largest island that has no roads or rail links to other countries. So it's an island. Roundland is the island. So anyway, get this point of view, we need to have this. So I'll just write it down, students. One point of view in the opportunity. So Roundland is the island. It's an opportunity. Roundland is an island. Roundland is an island. That is very, very important. Is an island. So definitely this is very, very important. And the highlighted section, students, again, I'm telling you, 3PL logistic providers can manage documentation associated with imports and export by the sea, in addition to making necessary arrangement to charter ships or to organize carriage shipping containers by the sea. So this is one of the things that documentation are also done, administration function. Now, coming to the air, students, that is the flight. So if you observe the air, freights can be carried out by air, either by a dedicated cargo aircraft or whole passengers alongside the luggage. Air freight is generally suited for high value goods that are small enough to be carried economically. It may also be necessary to consider air freight for transportation of goods that are either urgent or perishable. So these are the two major factors, urgent or perishable. And one thing, students, we do not have air freight at the moment. So I'll write it down, students. One more pointing opportunity. So I'll write down here, Daistruk does not operate air freight. Does not operate to our students, air freight also. And then students, they are saying, for example, fresh fruits, vegetable accounts to 10% of the weight in air freight arriving in Roundland. Some varieties must be imported from countries with warmer climates and must be flown rather than shipped because they are unsuitable for freezing and not remain edible during the sea voyage. Now, cargo aircraft are configured to carry only freight. They can also accommodate large items required urgently, so cannot be transported by overland or by ship. A large volume of pallets such as high-value electronics must be transported quickly and securely as well. And it is possible to a charter cargo aircraft for a single urgent load or for a regular delivery of items that require speed and security of air freight. It is also possible to book consignment of freight into cargo aircraft operated by major courier companies. Those companies have regular flights and major transport hubs, industrial countries. Most air freight is carried in hold of passenger aircraft. Airlines do not require to hold space for passenger luggage, can generate significant additional revenue from carrying cargo. Goods must fit onto the standard pallets used in air freight and the door to the hold. All the large airports are equipped to handle freights. It's also possible for the freight between connecting flight when there is no direct flight of load origin and final destination. It can also be complicated to manage air freight, 3PL providers, work with third-party clients and the needs. So at the moment, we do not have, but in the future, there are chances. And if you see the intermodal, students, that is not only one mode, it's the combination from the sea to the land and to the air, or sea to the road and to the railway, like that. The intermodal transport involves two or more modes of single journey. For example, shipping containers might arrive in Rolandian port by sea, offloaded on the railway wagon, carries to the terminal, and loaded onto an articulated truck for delivery for final destination. Sea, railway, and if I'm not mistaken, students, it is going to be sea, railway, and road. So this is only known as intermodal transportation. Intermodal transport frequently involves freights that is being carried in shipping containers. These can be stacked on the decks of the container ships or loaded onto wagons on freight trains, trailers, articulated trucks. The containers can also be stacked on land for storage purpose, enabling goods stored and warehouse space to protect them. The shipping containers are standardized in terms their size and the fittings and secure to the ship train truck. Those same fittings are also compatible with the hoist to use loading, unloading ports in the roads and the railway terminal. Containers can be purchased with refrigeration, air conditioning, and other systems that make them prolong perishable goods and transportation. Now, these are value addition. So I'll just write down here containers. So I'll just mention here containers with refrigeration, because like vegetable, everything, students, you need to have proper refrigeration. And then students, air conditioning, if I'm not mistaken, air conditioning. and other systems as also possible. So this is value addition. Intermodal transportation can offer rapid and efficient movement of goods in comparison to single mode transport. For example, it may be cheaper to use articulated truck to transport manufactured goods from a factory to the nearest rail terminal and have them complete their journey by freight train rather than making the entire journey by road. The intermodal transport can be used more efficient by using inland ports. These are basically rail terminals that are not served by the seaports. They are usually located close to both railway lines, motorways, distribution centers, offering flexibility, collection movements. They're also having storage facilities, enabling goods and offloading the items. It is also cheaper to take goods arriving by the ships to inland port storage and distribution. Seaports usually have good rail links, but it also expensive to store good restrictions and space. Similarly, goods can be offloaded in an inland port taking the rail seaport. Inland port can also be used for transporting goods within the country. They can cost effective transfer goods to the rail and the journey, the short. So students, in reality, most of the data has been assessed at the moment. So this is what the internal analysis has been. So market share, they have not given anything related to the players. The competitor data is not given. So as a conclusion, students, if you observe, this is our summary. If I'm not mistaken, we are 3PL operators, understand it very well. Industry analysis is over. And if you see students, the practical point of view is our operational sizes. And if you see the risk we were doing, the news stories, everything. So these are the overall structure of this pre-scene analysis. And students understand it very well. Once you are very much stable with the knowledge of the pre-scene material, you can do it very, very well in your examination. So students, any questions you have, you can ask me. If you are fine with this, you can please put a Y in the chat box. Because on the upcoming class, I will be doing the stakeholder analysis and then the ratios also we can finish it off. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Koza. So I'll go for the one-to-one discussion. I'll just call your names. If you have any issues, you can tell me. If you have no issues, you can please put Y in the chat box. So I'll start from Mr. Arun. Any questions?
No, Mr. Nafil, it's clear.
Thank you. Mr. Ibsal, any questions for the day?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Anitra, any questions for the day?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Annie, any questions for the day? Miss,
No, sir. Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Anson, any questions for the day? Mr. Ashish, any questions for the day?
No, sir, thank you so much.
Thank you. Miss Cleopatra, any questions for the day?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lakmal, any questions for the day?
No, Mr. Philip, thank you so much.
Thank you. Miss Priscilla, any questions for the day?
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Yes, please.
As to the SWOT analysis, I have a question on that.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So you talked about the suppliers relationship. The
Yeah.
other question I have is in terms of suppliers, apart from them, do we also have suppliers that probably supply the parts to our trucks? Is that
Fleet of vehicles. We have a
Yeah.
lot of fleet of vehicles. So we need to have a very good supply relationship, or else we will have issues like poor maintenance in trucks getting delayed, which cause the traffic in the road. So that is very important.
Yeah, because they haven't mentioned anything like that. So
No, that's what I put. It's a weakness.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Koza, any questions for the day? Mr. Ranganathan, any questions for the day?
No question, thanks.
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So students, get it very clearly. This is a huge pre-scene material, and the best way to study is filter out. And we have filtered out where we are standing. We don't have air freight at the moment. And our competitive advantage is our port. We have 2 internal ports, and we have automated systems within our port. And that is our major strength at the moment. And when we do the ratio calculation analysis with the proper application, you will be able to understand it even more clearer and easier as well. So students, thank you very much for your time. I will meet you on the Wednesday class. So take care, students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.